Welcome, everybody, to episode 2 of Palace Off the Top Rope. Thank you for joining me. If you've listened to the first episode, thank you very much. I appreciate it. I created a page on Facebook to try to, grow this thing and make everything exclusive to there. So thank you for supporting that. I'm going to try to get better at this thing as I go along. I'm going to learn some stuff too, do some more reading, try to get better at this thing. You don't want to be a finished product, right? Like, I don't consider myself the best or anything like that. But this is something that I've been wanting to do. It's been in me for a while, just wanting to get my thoughts on anything involving movies, television, sports, wrestling and the NFL are coming up, and there's going to be so much stuff going on, and I want to get my thoughts in on that. Everybody's got a podcast these days, so hey, why not throw my hat in the ring and see if I can grow some type of audience, and if I can, get at least, if I can get 5 people to be recurring listeners, that'll be a victory for me as a beginner here, as a podcaster. I know I've tried this before, but I really want to make this like a legit thing. I've looked into trying to make this thing available on Spotify, and I think I already tried submitting it into iTunes, and I'm waiting to hear back and see if I can, get real legit with this. So that way I can, make it easier for you guys to access it. Right now I'm just posting it through YouTube, and I'm also working with Podbean, so we'll see if I'm able to distribute that to you, so that way you can be able to listen to it on whatever platform it is that you listen to your podcast and music on, or whatever. But anyways, thank you so very much. Like I said, work in progress. I know I don't speak the best sometimes. It's hard to put things into a thought. Sometimes for me, but again, I'm doing this by myself at the moment. I'm looking at possibly getting a co-host or getting some guests down the line, so that way it's easier to have like a dialogue. It really is hard when you're doing it by yourself. And so again, thank you so much. And we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll get into some news stories that I want to talk about. And then we'll get into the heart of today's episode, which is going to be covering Monday Night Raw from last night and tonight's SmackDown Live. We'll get into all that on Palace Off the Top Rope. We'll be right back.
I don't know what to tell you. I ain't said like 500 times already. I have no idea where he is. Don't know where he's headed either. North, south, west, east, Mexico, the moon. I don't have a clue. But yo, even if I did, who wouldn't tell you? Because I've been watching the news, same as everybody else. I seen that little cage of his they kept him in. I heard about what all they did to him to make sure he kept cooking. So sorry. I don't know what to tell you. No way I'm helping you people put Jesse Pinkman back inside a cage.
Welcome back to the show. So Saturday night, the whole world got some breaking news in the sports world when Andrew Luck announced that he was going to retire from the National Football League, and it came as a huge shock to everyone. Everybody all over social media was stunned. I immediately said, "Wow," because I forget that and I have a thing against ESPN with their bias. I don't really watch their network anymore because of everything that happened with the Patriots and Deflategate. I got a really bad taste in my mouth from that network. So there's not really much that I have to do with that network anymore. I do watch First Take, but I watch it just because it's a hilarious show. But other than that, I usually watch FS1 or Bleacher Report. But one of the things I do keep from ESPN is their notifications on their app. Those are pretty good. I tried the Fox Sports one, but it was weird for some reason. I haven't. Maybe I'll give it a shot later down the road. But it didn't work for me anymore, so I stuck it out with ESPN. So they're pretty good still with their alerts and whatnot on news. And mostly I keep it for the San Antonio Spurs and the New England Patriots. When I don't get to catch their games on television, or if there's any reports on injuries or anything like that, it'll alert me about those teams. But I also forget that I have the alert turned on for any type of breaking news as it pertains to the NFL. And so I was driving on my way home, and I got the alert right away. And it was one of those where you had to like double look at it just to make sure you read it right. And yeah, sure enough, it said Indianapolis Colts quarterback Andrew Luck to retire from the NFL. And it was just one of those where I had to stop somewhere right away. And I was like, oh my God. Texted my best friend right away. All I texted him was, wow. And he knew what I was talking about right away. Just such a major blow to the NFL, because I'm all about like having stars in the league. It's what propels it to a whole other level, and I never wish for injuries and stuff like that, especially like if somebody like Aaron Rodgers goes down. Like, it's a bummer. Like, we all lose as fans, because having these guys in the games, it just makes it much more fun and exciting to watch. So while I wasn't a huge fan of not of like Andrew Luck, he's a good guy, but the team that he plays for, I have such a gripe with, and that's a whole other podcast that I could probably eventually do years down the line once Brady retires from the Patriots and all that. But that's, again, my disdain is more for that team. But Andrew Luck is a fantastic player. He's going to be missed. He came into this league as one of the top prospects. Kind of like the way Peyton Manning was looked at. Like, right away, like, this guy was just going to be great from the start. And who knew? Like, the stars aligned for this kid, and he was able to succeed Peyton Manning, who at the time was dealing with neck injuries, and we didn't know what was going to happen with him. So the Colts had decided to eventually move on from Peyton Manning and drafted Andrew Luck after they had a terrible season the year before. And they went with him, and looked like he was going to make some noise. And, his team wasn't good for the longest time. Like, the pieces surrounding him, like, he was good, and he had a couple of pieces, but not enough to, like, go all the way. But yet they would make it into the playoffs. Made it all the way to an AFC championship game against my Patriots. But, things from there just spiraled out of control as far as, like, my hatred for that organization. But I can't take away from what this kid Andrew Luck was able to do with this type of team. He didn't really have the support from his general manager, who I think his name was Ryan Grigson or something like that. Didn't draft well and didn't give this guy the pieces that he needed to be completely successful in this league. And unfortunately, for Andrew Luck, he sustained a lot of injuries throughout the years, separated shoulder, a lacerated kidney. This past year, he's been dealing with a calf or a ankle injury. Something's going on, and it's just been such a wear and tear for this kid. And, he's only 29 years old as of right now. And he's just been rehabbing and coming back from injury and getting injured again. And, I'm not going to put sole blame on the Colts organization, but I want to say it's at least 70%. I guess it's a little bit more than half. But, man, like, just sad, because what this kid could have done in the next couple of years. I don't know how much longer Tom Brady has and my Patriots and this amazing run that they've been on. I don't know how much longer that's going to last, but everybody was looking at this kid as being the next, for the future, the next 10 years or whatever the number is. We were looking at a high, long ceiling for this kid. Him and now Patrick Mahomes for the Kansas City Chiefs. Where most of the media and everybody's going to be looking to him now to be the next, guy to run like the AFC. This is what most people were thinking about Andrew Luck. And unfortunately, he could have achieved more, but, there was a guy named Tom Brady that he could never get past, and unfortunately, that's just the way that it is. So, this kid, what he was able to do, we'll give him props. Hopefully, more than anything, I want him to heal not only physically but mentally, because I know how draining that must be and how tiring it must be for the mind and having to rehab and rest and just the whole grind of it all is just got to be just so draining. And I don't blame him one bit. I do wish the fans would have been more sympathetic at the moment when people were finding out about this, which was Saturday night. They were having a preseason game, and he got booed as he was coming off the field. And I guess I can see it from both sides. I mean, if it were, let's say Brady was in whatever, a couple of years in, and it's 2 weeks before the season starts, and all of a sudden he just retires. Yeah, I could be mad about it, but also if you don't know the circumstances of what's going on, just take a second before you react. That we're in this type of society now where we want instant reaction, instant analysis. Take a second, soak it in, and see what's going on in the bigger picture. And this kid is hurting. This kid is mentally hurting. He's physically hurting, and his passion is just not there for the game anymore. So you gotta be sympathetic to that. So again, I didn't like it. He did as much as he could for that organization as he could. It was also up to the owner and the GM to also surround him with pieces to go even further. So you can't really blame the kid. With all the injuries that he's sustained. Just come on, Indy, be more sympathetic. But wish him the best of luck. And pun intended, I guess. But man, hopefully, time heals all wounds and whatnot. You can never say never in this world. He's still really young. I'm interested to see what he does next. I can see him as an analyst or on one of these, NFL shows. I can see him showing up for a bit, but knowing that the competitor that he probably is, I can see him wanting to come back and trying to at least try to make a run at a Super Bowl. Again, still very young, but best to him. And what more can you say? It's a blow, but luckily we still got a lot of great stars here in the NFL. The season's, like I said, under 2 weeks to go until we start this thing, the road to Super Bowl 54. And the AFC, it's a little bit less today because Andrew Luck is no longer involved. It's totally changed the landscape of the AFC South, which probably looks like it's going to be a race between the Houston Texans and the Tennessee Titans probably. But we'll see how that shapes out. But I'll talk about that on a later episode as we draw near to the season. So, Andrew Luck, wish you the best. What else is going on in the entertainment world? Found out about a couple of days ago, and it was included with a trailer, that we are getting a Breaking Bad movie on Netflix, exclusively to Netflix. It's not going to the theaters or anything like that. It's called El Camino, a Breaking Bad movie. I can deal without the Breaking Bad movie part in the title, but you want people to know that it's part of that series, so I guess I see why they did that. Anyways, this is going to bring back Jesse Pinkman, played by Aaron Paul. And a little bit of spoilers for those of you that haven't seen the Breaking Bad series. The main star, Bryan Cranston, did die in the final episode of the series. So we do know, we knew a Breaking Bad movie was coming, but we didn't know what was going to be the circumstances and what it was going to be about. But now we know it's post the final episode, so it's who knows how much farther along it is from the events of that. We know Aaron Paul's in it, and we know that it's coming in October. So it's coming fast, folks, and I'm excited. I loved the Breaking Bad series. Took me a while to come around to it. Kind of caught up towards the end before its run, but it's one of the best television shows that I have ever seen. I really wanted to get into Better Call Saul. I've heard nothing but good things, and I even saw I believe it was like the first 3 episodes of the season, but life just got in the way, and I've got this weird thing now with television where I just can't get into shows if it's a long extended period of episodes. I know they're only about like 13 episodes each, probably about 4 seasons, something like that. Don't know the specifics. Sorry if I got it wrong. But I hear nothing but great things about Better Call Saul, as it's one of the best TV shows going. And maybe I will try to dive into it, even though that one's more of a prequel series before the events of Breaking Bad. But hearing all the good things about that and how great the series itself was, I'm excited for the movie. I don't look at it as a cheap cash in. If they got a good story to tell, I trust them. Vince Gilligan, I think that's the series creator's name. If he came up with a good story, I trust that he's going to deliver us something good. So look for that in October on Netflix. I'll be watching. Maybe I'll do a instant review once I see it. I'll do a podcast on that. I'll poll, see if you all want to listen to stuff like that, because I want to get you all, the audience, involved in this. It can't just be what I want to do. So I want to see what you guys want me to talk about, if anything. If not, I'll just continue to do these things anyway. I'm going to just pump out content and just continue to grow this thing. But yeah, El Camino, a Breaking Bad movie, coming to Netflix I believe it's October 11th. It's a couple of days before my 33rd birthday, so that'll be a nice little treat for me. And sticking with movie news, me being a Hispanic, Latino, I know we don't get represented well in the Hollywood community. And, there's a lot of talk these days about diversity in films and whatnot, but you don't see a lot of representation in the Latino community. And if you do, it's always in that stereotypical role. And that's just the way it is. It needs to change, because there's a lot of good Latino actors out there. And even give Latino directors a chance. Eva Longoria, I don't know if she's ever directed anything, but I'm glad she's getting the opportunity. Too, she's built some sort of goodwill, coming off Desperate Housewives, and she's done a couple of movies. She's going to direct the story of the inventor of the Flaming Hot Cheetos. That's a rags to riches story, and those are usually pretty good for the most part. So it's going to be directed by her, and I know there's been jokes about it and headlines about it being, the Flaming Hot Cheeto movie, but it's the story behind it. So, yeah, I can see how you easily would laugh seeing something like that. Oh, look, a Flaming Hot Cheeto movie. But no, it's a rags to riches story. So those are always, I think, good for the most part. So I'm excited for her getting the opportunity and seeing who gets the spot to fill in the main role. Don't know the person's name, but the person is of Hispanic, Latino, ethnic, race. So that'll be fun. News coming up in the weeks to see casting and all that stuff. But super excited, and I'll always mark out or be pro anything for the Hispanic Latino community. Dora and the Lost City of Gold, I wanted that movie to do so well. Unfortunately, it didn't box office wise. It was a cast filled with Latino actors. Not that it needs to be all Latino actors, but I will still pull for it to want to be successful, especially when you've got the IP of the Dora the Explorer. This was a good opportunity for us to showcase that, Latinos can be well represented on the big screen. But fortunately, it didn't do well, and I don't know. We'll see if they'll eventually make like a series out of it, or I don't know. Who knows? But the fact that it didn't make much money, I have to be a little bit, of a cynic and probably say that they won't make anything going forward with that IP. Sad to say, but I do hope that this Flaming Hot Cheeto, the story of this guy, the rags to riches, I hope it does well. So I'll be looking forward to that. And I'll keep you updated on casting and all that situation. Going back to Netflix, we found out some more news today. The Irishman, directed by Martin Scorsese. We found out the release dates. For those of you interested, it is going to be coming to theaters on November 1st. And that's going to be a limited run. So who knows what cities are actually going to get it. I hope that it's not just, like New York and Los Angeles. We got a nice little, art house theater here in San Antonio. Let them get it. And I hope we get a shot at it because I would love to see this on the big screen. I'm all about seeing stuff on the biggest screen possible, no matter what type of movie that it is. So yeah, anyways, it'll be on limited theatrical release starting November 1st, and then it'll hit exclusively to Netflix November 27th, which I'm not sure what exactly that day is, but it should be around Thanksgiving time. So if I don't get to see it in the theaters, or if we don't get the opportunity to get it, I think as far as I go travel-wise, I'll go to Austin if it shows up there. I don't know about Dallas. That might be a little bit too far for me. But, yeah, if I don't get to see it on the big screen, I'll definitely be watching with my plate of mashed potatoes and turkey, watching this during Thanksgiving. I'll make it an at-home event, and I'll try to make it as big a deal as possible. Maybe I'll get Dan Tucker involved, and we'll do a screening here for 4K on Netflix on my big screen TV. I'll talk to him about that if we don't get to see it in the theaters. So yeah, November 1st in the actual theaters. We'll see where it ends up in what cities, and then exclusively on Netflix November 27th, The Irishman, starring Robert De Niro, Al Pacino, Joe Pesci. Need I say more? That's enough to sell it to me. It should be enough for you if you know your film history. These are at least two of the greatest actors of our time. And then obviously one of the greatest directors in the history of the game, Martin Scorsese. His stuff is usually top-notch most of the time. I didn't get to see his last film with Adam Driver. And I think we only had that one briefly, so I didn't get to see that one. So maybe I'll check it out soon to gear up for this one. But for sure, I'll be checking this one out. And lastly, a little bit of news, wrestling-wise. This weekend is the All Out pay-per-view event from the company All Elite Wrestling. It is going to be the competition for WWE. This is the biggest type of company established since, the days of WCW. For those of you that, go back and know your wrestling history and the Monday Night Wars, it was between those two companies. But now we got a legitimate second company that we can invest our time in for those of you that are wrestling fans. It's going to be fun to see. They start up their television show in October 2nd. They will be on TNT starting that Wednesday. And then, of course, SmackDown will move to the Fox network October 4th. So there's just a lot of exciting stuff going on in the wrestling world. The NXT, which is another brand of the WWE empire, they're going to be going up on Wednesdays against AEW head-to-head. So there's just going to be so much content. And me as a wrestling fan, I've been waiting for something like this. For these companies to push each other to put out the best product possible. And it's just going to be a win-win for wrestling fans. But anyways, before we get to that, AEW has their pay-per-view event on Saturday called All Out, which is, I guess you could say it's a sequel to their event from last September, which was called All In. But back then, they weren't a wrestling company yet. It was just like a bunch of these independent wrestlers getting together to put on this giant show, like the biggest pay-per-view event in the history of indie shows. And that was a success, and that's what led to the development of AEW. And now here we are. This is their second major pay-per-view event under the AEW banner. They've put on 2 other previous shows on the Bleacher Report app, which you can watch for free if you download that. So there's a little bit of a nugget for you that you guys can go check this out and watch it for free just to get an idea of what type of wrestling this company is going to bring to you. It's going to be a little bit more on the sports side. I'm sure it's still going to have the pro wrestling side of it, and what I mean by that is having like the theatrics and the drama and all that. That's what makes wrestling as a whole awesome for me. It's not just the in-ring athleticism and the matches. It's the characters and the building and all that stuff is what makes it work for me. But anyways, sad news out of that is there was this one match that I was really looking forward to on this pay-per-view. It was going to be Kenny Omega versus Jon Moxley. Now, unfortunately, Jon Moxley was competing in New Japan Pro Wrestling over there, of course, in Japan, as you can see in the title. Just competing in all these different type of matches on the road leading to this, and he developed some sort of staph infection, and he's going to require surgery. So, unfortunately, he's not going to be able to compete in this match. But this is the one. This is the one bout that was selling me on actually wanting to purchase the pay-per-view event. Because they've just been building this up so awesome, and they've been cutting promo after promo. And of course, this all started at the last pay-per-view where Jon Moxley, formerly known as Dean Ambrose from WWE, made his arrival, attacked Kenny Omega, started this whole thing, and it was supposed to be the co-main event this Saturday. And they've been leading up with awesome promos on each other, and especially Kenny Omega, especially on this past week's episode of Being the Elite, which is a YouTube show where a lot of these wrestlers are showcasing a lot of their characters because they don't have TV just yet. So he's going to have a replacement opponent, and the wrestler's name is Pac. He's a great wrestler. Character, he considers himself a bastard, so that's kind of the character, but I'm not really sold on him yet, character-wise. As a wrestler, yes, and I know this is probably going to be a better matchup wrestling-wise, but like I told you all, I'm invested in the entire package. Promos, character, it's got to be more than just the in-ring work that you got to bring to the table. So Kenny Omega cuts this promo on Being the Elite, right? And he's talking about Jon Moxley, and it gets interrupted, and the producer telling him, hey, Jon Moxley's not going to be involved. He's out. He's injured. And Kenny Omega continues to cut a promo on him and just go in on him even more. And it's like, you're not even going to bring up your replacement who you're fighting this Saturday? Like, how am I supposed to be invested in that? And I'm not trying to, knock them down or anything like that, but why are you continuing to cut a promo on somebody you're not going to fight anymore? Yes, it could lead to something down the road, which I'm okay with, but at the moment, you're trying to sell this pay-per-view on Saturday. And like I said, you didn't convince me otherwise to continue to buy in to this pay-per-view. So, it's a real bummer, but I know we'll get this match later down the road. Who knows if it'll be for free on their television show, or if it's going to be whenever they have their next big pay-per-view event. But yeah, that's all out this Saturday on pay-per-view and on the Bleacher Report app, which you could purchase through. As of right now, unless things dramatically change throughout the week, I will not be seeing this event, so I'll be catching up through social media and see what everybody thinks of the show. But yeah, what a bummer. Omega and Moxley ain't going to happen, but they've been building it up awesome. So again, if you're a wrestling fan, I hope you checked out his promo on Being the Elite because it was top notch, and I've just, I'm becoming a bigger Kenny Omega fan than I was at the beginning. He's grown on me. He's showing it, not just with his in-ring talent, but his promo abilities, his character. But we'll see what he's got come October when they launch their television show. And those are the big news stories that I wanted to cover in the first part of this pod. But let's take another break. And when we get back, I'm going to review Monday Night Raw and SmackDown Live. Monday Night Raw, which happened last night, and then SmackDown Live, which was tonight. And you'll get my thoughts on these past 2 episodes when we return. Thank you for watching Palace Off the Top Rope, or listening. I'm still trying to get better at this, guys, so bear with me. We'll be back.
On August 31st, we return to where it all began. Pac versus Kenny Omega. Hangman versus Jericho. Who will be the first to raise the AEW World Championship? All that by now on BR Live.
All right, welcome back to the show. So here we go. My reviews of Monday Night Raw from August 26, 2019. Let me first go off and say, overall, this was a boring show. It was a hard 3-hour watch. Which, yes, if I'm going to be doing these reviews, I'm going to have to be watching everything and covering it just to get a better perspective of things. Because usually I can watch these shows within like minutes, and that's just how bad WWE has been for, I want to say, at least almost going on a year and a half now. I'm always going to support it just because I love wrestling. But man, do I need AEW to start on October 2nd on TNT, because I believe that's what it's going to take to get, the head honcho, Vince McMahon, off his ass and, just get creative again. Not just him, but let his writers be creative. Let his executive directors be creative and just give us a better product. But that's just on the grand scheme of things. Let's talk about Monday Night Raw. Okay, so we're on the road to Clash of Champions, which is the next pay-per-view event. I believe it's coming September 15th. I believe that's the exact date. Anyways, let's get started with the show. So it opens up with Sasha Banks walking out to a promo. And this is one of the things... There's so many things wrong with these shows these days. But one of the things I hate is that they have these wrestlers come out to cut a promo, right? But before they do anything, they cut to like a video package recapping everything that happened the previous week. And it's like, if you're going to do that, why don't you just open the show before everything starts, just the way Raw used to be back in the day? They would put in a dramatic video of everything that happened before, the weeks before and whatnot. And then you open the show, you have the announcers open up and tell you what's on the agenda for tonight, and then boom, and then the wrestler comes out to talk about whatever they're going to do. It just, I don't know, it comes off super dumb because you have, and I've been there at live events, and the wrestlers come out, and then they just right away look at the Videotron to cut to these packages, and they're just standing there looking dumb. So that's just one of the things that they need to fix, and it's an easy, quick fix. Put the package and stuff before the wrestler comes out. Makes it more effective that way. But anyway, Sasha Banks is cutting this promo about how everybody was talking about her, since she's supposedly took her ball and went home, which she admits to, and admits to being a little bit of a diva over how things panned out at WrestleMania for her. Which, for those of you that don't know, she was the tag team champions with Bayley. They lost it in a 4-way match, after only having the belts for like a little over a month. So she didn't like the direction they were going with that. So that upset her creatively. And, she went home and then finally returned the night after SummerSlam, which was early August. WrestleMania was back in April. So it's been a little bit of a while since we've seen Sasha Banks. But anyway, she's cutting this promo, and it just sounds so scripted. I mean, you used to watch her in NXT. I mean, this girl knows how to talk. A lot of these wrestlers, they know how to talk, but they're put on such a leash by the WWE machine, especially these days, where they're just given scripts to read, actual lines to read, and you can tell by the way they're delivering them. And it just looks them and makes them look so inauthentic. Like, just let these people just be the character. Sasha Banks knows how to be the legit boss. You don't have to give her lines to read. So she sounds super robotic, and from the way she's delivering the lines, the crowd are easily chanting what at her. And so you don't get to be effective. If she gets to be Sasha Banks the way she was in NXT and being able to cut those promos, it'll be more effective. So, yeah, it was too robotic and took me out of it. Luckily, Natalya came down and they brawled for a little bit. It was announced via the Wrap. That's how WWE does their things these days, is they start giving away exclusives to media and whatnot on what's going to happen on their shows. So that was one of the things that broke earlier in the day, that Sasha Banks was going to be taking on Natalya on this episode of Raw. So anyway, they're brawling. They beat the crap out of each other. And finally, some agents and referees come out and break them up. And that's the end of that segment. And then we jump to the Street Profits, who I'm completely over. They're the NXT Tag Team Champions. I have no idea what they're doing on this show. They're not wrestling. All they're doing is pretty much recapping and telling you everything that's going on the Monday Night Raw show. And it's a little bit overdone. I don't get it what it is with this team. I don't know what everybody sees in Montez Ford. I'm sorry to be such a huge critic. I've been watching this a long time. I think I have a little bit of an idea what I'm talking about. All this guy does is yell and get loud. Like when he's talking about Monday Night Raw and tonight we got a tag team turmoil match. Like that's all he does. Like I can do that. My little daughter can do that. It doesn't take that much to yell, you know. But yet everybody talks about how charismatic he is. But like there's nothing to his character other than talking loud and making a little bit of faces. But that's about it. You know, I'm over the Street Profits. If you're into them, cool, but, you know, they're not doing it for me. And anyways, they're in this segment talking about how there's going to be a tag team turmoil match to determine the number one contenders for the Raw tag team titles. And the winners of that match will go on to Clash of Champions to face Braun Strowman and Seth Rollins, who are the tag team champions. And we'll get to that in just a bit. But anyways, they put up a graphic. And me just being a fan over 20 years, I know what a majority of these matches are, but the fact that they have to put up a graphic of what a tag team turmoil match is, but also like it's also a good thing because they don't really do these matches so often. So I guess I won't give them shit for this. They put up a graphic of what the tag team turmoil match is and the rules and whatnot. Basically, it starts off with two teams, and then every time a team is eliminated, another team comes out, and so until there's a last team standing. And they announced the teams. You know, you got Zack Ryder and Kurt Hawkins. Who cares? The B team. Who cares? The Viking Raiders. Okay, there's a team that could possibly do some stuff. You know, they've been squashing some no names, but you know that's the way they used to do it back in the day to build up these teams to be legit contenders. They'd be squashing team after team after team or opponent after opponent, and that's how you build them up. You got the Revival in this thing. I don't know why. Aren't they in a feud with the New Day? I mean, at least that's the story you're trying to tell me on SmackDown. But whatever. Throw them in here anyway. There's so many belts. Everything's coming together, crisscrossing, and I'm so confused as to who's on what show and who's fighting for what belt and whatnot. It's just all very confusing, but they're in this match to possibly compete for the Raw Tag Team titles. Lucha House Party's in it. And the last team, Heavy Machinery is also another one of the teams. But the last team that they say is in this thing is the random pairing of Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode. I mean, who saw that coming, huh? I mean, it's just such an out-of-nowhere team, and obviously, who cares, right? But we'll get to that later. And that's the end of that segment. Next, we have the another match in the King of the Ring tournament between Drew McIntyre and Ricochet. Pretty fun match for what it was. Won't get too much into it. It is what it is, and Ricochet ends up winning with the 360, I think is what it's called. Forgot what his flippy little move is off the top rope. Anyways, he wins and he advances, and he'll be facing Samoa Joe in the quarterfinals next week on Monday Night Raw. So good for Ricochet. And then we cut to an interview with Braun Strowman and Seth Rollins. And ladies and gentlemen, I kid you not, the graphic tells you that this was filmed last week, right? Because I don't think Seth Rollins is on this show live. He's not, because he got engaged to Becky Lynch, who's also not on the show. So they're celebrating their engagement, which I'm still, throwing my chicken nuggets on the floor over. But that's another topic for another time. But anyways, they're not on the show live. But they're telling you in this graphic, in this interview, that it's from last week. And you have Sarah Shriver, the interviewer, and she makes the mistake. This is a taped segment, but she makes the mistake of saying last week in the interview. So they're trying to make you, or I think she thought that it was a live segment for this week's show. So that's a flub on her part. So it just looked really weird seeing the graphic saying last week, but then her saying that the match took place even a week prior to that, which made me laugh. It made me chuckle. So if you saw that and caught that flub, let me know what you thought. I thought it was super hilarious. But anyways, they're interviewing them about being the tag team champions. They won the belts off the OC, and they'll be defending them at Clash of Champions, and wanting to get their thoughts on that. And Seth notices that Braun Strowman's paying a lot of attention to Seth's Universal Championship, which looks like Braun Strowman wants to challenge for. And Seth kind of looks like, hey, man, we need to focus on being tag champions. And also, remember when Seth Rollins said, and this was the first time he took the belt off Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania, remember when he said he was going to be like the fighting champion? And yes, he accepts the challenge from Braun Strowman eventually, which is going to lead to them fighting twice at the pay-per-view. Once for the tag titles and then once in the main event for the Universal title. But remember Seth Rollins said he was just going to be this fighting champion and was going to be defending the belt all the time. And here he is talking to Braun Strowman and, not really kind of like backing off him, but also like, hey, dude, the guy wants to challenge you. Just accept it. Like, there's no need to kind of build any drama towards it. If you're the type of champion you say you're going to be, right? Taking challenge after challenge and defending the belt night after night. I don't know. I just thought that came off pretty weird for a guy who said he was going to be nonstop defending the belt on every episode of Monday Night Raw. But anyways, we're set up for Clash of Champions. Braun Strowman and Seth Rollins will be competing twice. Once as a tag team, and then the second will be against each other for the Universal Championship. Next is another qualifying match in the King of the Ring tournament. It is The Miz versus Baron Corbin. And Baron Corbin gets the win here over The Miz. You can say whatever you want about The Miz, but that guy knows how to work a crowd. And the crowd was pretty into this match for the most part. I'll give him, the match was whatever. But if you can get the crowd into it, you can get the crowd behind you, I think you're doing well as a WWE superstar. And The Miz, you can say whatever you want about him. You can say whatever you want about his wrestling. But the guy's a good character, and he's good enough in the ring. And when you combine both of those things, you get a really good, what should be WWE superstar. And that really shows here, especially in a match against Baron Corbin. But anyway, Corbin gets the win, and he'll be facing Cedric Alexander in the quarterfinals next week on Monday Night Raw. Next is a matchup between Bayley, the SmackDown Women's Champion, by the way, against Nikki Cross. Why? Nikki Cross is a member of the Raw team. She's one half of the Women's Tag Team Champions. What the hell is Bayley doing on this show? She's on SmackDown. But I guess they're trying to make up for Becky Lynch not being there, so I guess. But this match makes no sense. Nobody cares, but Bayley has to get the win because she is the champion of SmackDown, so she has the momentum going on there. She's been actually featured a lot in wrestling matches, which is, it's whatever with Bayley right now. Like, she's not really doing it for me. I know she's trying to bring what's supposed to be like an edgier version of her character, but it kind of looks to be the same thing. But again, why this match happened on Monday Night Raw made no sense. Crowd didn't care. I didn't care. There was no reason this match should have happened, but whatever. Bayley picks up the win over Nikki Cross in a match that we'll easily forget about a couple of seconds after it happened. And now we get to an interview with Kayla Braxton with Braun Strowman. Now, this one is live, folks, because Braun Strowman is in the building because he does have a match later on with AJ Styles for the United States Championship. And Kayla Braxton's just interviewing Braun Strowman. You know, they're hyping him up. And Kayla Braxton, man, just some of the dialogue that they give her to say or questions to ask. And it's like, she says, this is how she phrases it. She says, Braun, at Clash of Champions, you and Seth Rollins will be defending the Raw Tag Team titles for the first time in history. Like, why would you say it like that? Like, they're just say you're gonna be facing the winners of the Tag Team Turmoil match tonight. Like, why do you say it like that? And I know it's not her; it's the stupid WWE machine and the way they got to make these interviewers like just say the dumbest shit. I'm rewatching a lot of these old Nitros and Raws. Right now I'm in the year 1999. And man, these backstage interviewers, they used to just let them be them and let them ask real questions and let them act like reporters backstage and not be robotic and giving them scripted lines to read. And it just comes off so dumb. But it's also easier for me to watch. It makes the watch more entertaining and easier for me to laugh at. So that was the one thing I wanted to note from this backstage interview with Braun Strowman. Next, we have the Tag Team Turmoil match, which is going to determine who faces Braun Strowman and Seth Rollins at Clash of Champions. We start off with the Viking Raiders, and I believe they run through like the B team and Hawkins and Ryder. They run through them real quick. And then here comes Gallows and Anderson, the OC, right? The former tag team champions. And they were brawling with the Viking Raiders. They're going at it. And it gets out of hand real quick, and it ends up being a double disqualification. So they're both out. And as a fan, I'm like, especially with the Viking Raiders, like, why should I even care about them then? You've been building them up for weeks and weeks, squashing all these teams. And just for you to give them a stupid out that way? Like, why should I care about them? Makes no sense booking-wise. Me as a fan, I'm seeing you build up this team. It looks like you're getting them ready for a tag team championship match. No, not the way WWE books. And the OC, you can't even at least get them to the finals of this match? They're the former champs. And you knock them both out so easily? But that's all to set up, ladies and gentlemen, the random pairing of Robert Roode and Dolph Ziggler, who then continue to run through the rest of this matchup as they go through Lucha House Party and the Revival, who again, I don't know why they're in this match. They're fighting the New Day on SmackDown, but whatever. And then it comes to Heavy Machinery, and you think, oh, maybe Heavy Machinery is going to get this. They're going to get the rub again. You know, they had their chance against Daniel Bryan and Eric Rowan at the Stomping Grounds pay-per-view. And they had a pretty good showing for what it was. They didn't win, but, you know, they got a little bit over. So here I'm thinking, okay, they're gonna get another chance again. But no, they give it to Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode. I love Robert Roode, but this pairing with Dolph Ziggler makes no sense. And now they got a big pay-per-view match against Seth Rollins and Braun Strowman. And as if we didn't beat that to death last year in the summer of 2018 with Seth Rollins and Dolph Ziggler, it's like, here we go again. It's like you have the chance here, WWE. You have the chance to build up some new teams. Give them the opportunities. How do you expect anybody to get over, especially in a tag team division where you finally have some decent enough tag teams, and you go with a random pairing? I know they're bigger stars at the moment, but also you want to build for the future. AEW is coming. And if you don't get it together, you're going to plummet even more than you have been over the last year and a half. It's going to get worse if you don't knock off shit like this. And I don't mean to get angry, and it's not like that I want WWE to be bad. I want them to be good. Because I know they can do it. I know they can do it if they just give a little bit more leeway. Give other people an opportunity. I'm not a Heavy Machinery guy, but I would have much rather see them in this spot to give us a fresh matchup. Instead of going back to Dolph Ziggler and Seth Rollins, here we go again. I don't care about that match. You're building up the Viking Raiders. I would have loved to see them in it. I mean, they're just there for me. They're just a team that's there, but you're building them as a fan, as a viewer. That is the story you're telling me. Why should I care about the Viking Raiders going forward? So stupid. And it's only because I'm passionate about professional wrestling. I'm going to watch it probably till the day that I die. But man, just easy little things like this. And they ruin it because, I don't know, is it just because they want to focus on hyping up Braun Strowman and trying to get Seth Rollins more over? I mean, you already saw this past summer, Seth Rollins is a failure as a champion, in my opinion. And Braun Strowman, you dropped the ball with him so long ago. You know you're not going to have him beat Seth at the pay-per-view. We know that. And then it's just going to be same old for Braun Strowman. And then where does that leave the rest of the tag division? In the hands of Robert Roode and Dolph Ziggler. Yes, I believe they're going to win the belts. And hopefully, they will be transitional champions and give it to an actual tag team like the Heavy Machinery or the Viking Raiders. Just a big, blown opportunity to try to get somebody over that's new. Coming up next is Sasha Banks and Natalya. And I'm done for being mad on this show. This is the most mad I got about this show, but that's it on that. That's my rant on that. Sasha Banks battles Natalya. This was a pretty good match. It got over what it needed to. Sasha Banks was super vicious in this match, beat the hell out of Natalya, even made her tap out, which was good. And then post-match went to beat on her again. And Michael Cole was actually pretty good here, getting pissed off, saying what the hell's happened to Sasha Banks. You know, what's gotten into her. And I believe this is going to lead into a feud with Becky Lynch. And, of course, they make no mention of her anywhere, or at least I didn't catch it, because we all know the real-life story of her and Seth getting engaged. But storyline-wise, they don't really explain why she's not there. They don't say, if anything, if she's recovering from the chair shots she got from Sasha Banks 2 weeks ago. They don't say anything. So as far as I'm concerned, this feud has basically been Sasha Banks and Natalya. But the pay-per-view is still a few weeks away. They got to start rolling with promos, face-to-face interactions between Lynch and Banks. Want to get that going. I know that's going to be good. But yeah, this was a good segment here for Sasha Banks. So I give this an A. This is probably like the best segment of the show, in my opinion. And then we got a filler match with Cesaro and Cedric Alexander. The crowd was so dead for this. I didn't care because there's been no build to this or whatever. It's just a buffer for Cedric since he's going to be in the quarterfinals next week. Who's he fighting? Baron Corbin, I think. Yeah, he's fighting Baron Corbin. So it's a buffer for him on that. And yeah, don't have much to say about that. And then we come to the main event. AJ Styles versus Braun Strowman for the WWE United States Championship. Match is okay. You know, it's AJ's doing the most that he can with Braun. Braun's very limited wrestling wise. We all know AJ Styles is the better wrestler of the two. But yeah, this match doesn't go very long, and then the OC tries to get involved, and AJ Styles tries to use a chair. The ref is knocked out at some point while all of this is going on. And as AJ sees the ref coming to, AJ Styles drops and, tries to play dead, throws the chair to Braun Strowman, making it seem like he used it on him, and the ref stupidly says something like, "Oh, I heard chair shots. You're getting disqualified," and DQs him, which makes no sense because the rule has always been is if the ref doesn't see it, it doesn't count. But now all of a sudden it's like, oh, I heard it, so it counts. So again, that was another dumb little thing that they could have fixed, but didn't. And Braun Strowman is disqualified, ends up beating the crap out of AJ Styles and the rest of the OC, Gallows and Anderson. Multiple chair shots. The show ends, and it's all to buffer Braun and Seth Rollins as we head to Clash of Champions, and that is Monday Night Raw. We'll get to SmackDown Live next, which was tonight. Let's take one more final break, and then we'll come back, and I'll run down SmackDown. This is Palace Off the Top Rope.
Nobody.
Sorry about your ceiling.
Nice work, man.
Step inside and be the man.
Welcome back to the show. All right, so here we go. SmackDown Live was tonight. A little bit of an easier watch, and SmackDown usually is because it's 2 hours, so they usually have to get through stuff quicker to get, their points across and whatever they want to present to us in this show. So here we go. The show starts off pretty much like the way Raw did. Here comes Kofi Kingston, the WWE champion, comes out for a promo. But instead of actually starting his promo, what do, folks? What just happened in the last segment? They cut to a long video package recapping his feud going on with Randy Orton, which is going to escalate into a rematch of Clash of Champions. So yeah, there's that long package, and then they even get to showing you the graphic for the pay-per-view match and with the theme music and all that. And then finally they get back to Kofi Kingston. But that's okay. The less of him I see, the better. Again, another robotic promo. This guy, to me, is one of the worst WWE champions this company has ever had. I don't get what it is about the character other than, yes, he had that feel-good story leading up to WrestleMania, but ever since post that, the guy doesn't know how to cut a promo for his life, doesn't know when to be serious. The guy walks around with the championship with pancakes stuffed in it. I just find that to be super stupid, which is a recurring theme in this feud between Randy Orton and Kofi Kingston, is the word stupid being used a lot. So he's cutting this robotic promo, whatever, saying that Randy Orton's made things personal with him, but come Clash of Champions, he's going to find out how serious he can be and how he doesn't take things as a joke, and trying to tell us as a viewer like we're seeing this match for the first time when we just saw it at SummerSlam and it had that stupid double count-out finish and nobody was clamoring for a rematch, but we're getting it anyway because we have to, fill up the fall season before we get to Fox in October. Randy Orton shows up on the Titantron. Yes, I'll still call it a Titantron, even though it's not the Titantron of old from back in the day. But he shows up on there calling Kofi Kingston stupid for a number of seconds. It had to have gone for at least 20 seconds of him just repeatedly calling Kofi Kingston stupid, which I enjoyed. I'm good with that. And talking about how he got a letter in his hotel talking about how Randy Orton getting this letter saying how he's a mean person and not to beat up on Kofi or whatever. I forgot exactly what the contents of that letter was, but it was Randy Orton saying that it was from his kid, and him saying that he wouldn't respond to fan mail, but that he would actually go visit him in the hotel because apparently they're staying in the same hotel, storyline wise. So he says he's going to go visit him, and Kofi Kingston gets all mad, goes to the back. Orton's immediately right there, so he goaded him to the back. They're brawling. And then I think Randy Orton ends up hitting like a DDT or something like that, knocks out Kofi out cold. And Orton got his message across and told the story to us. Kofi Kingston was stupid and reacted accordingly. He got knocked out. So, stupid, Kofi. Stupid. I enjoyed that segment. Mainly because it proved Kofi Kingston to be an idiot. Next, we got a King of the Ring matchup between Ali and Buddy Murphy. This was the match of the night, probably the match of the week on WWE-wise. Great back and forth. The crowd is into Buddy Murphy. WWE's got something going here with this guy, but we all know they're going to ruin it. Because if it's not somebody that they're supporting, who the machine is supporting, who if they're not behind them, they're going to try to find ways to make you go away. I think Buddy Murphy should have won this match. He didn't. Ali's moving on to the quarterfinals against Andrade. It's either Andrade or Elias. It's one of the two. I forgot exactly who it is. Anyway, post-match, it turns out it looks like Buddy Murphy's going in the direction of being a babyface. Stuck out his hand to shake with Ali. Ali accepted it. Buddy Murphy raised his hand. Buddy Murphy got himself over, continues to get himself over. We'll see where they go with this guy. But knowing the track history of WWE, they're going to ruin this guy. Because Buddy Murphy was not even supposed to be in this spot to begin with. And what I mean by that, and I know I just started off this podcast, but I'm going to give you a little bit of a recap of what's been going on with this guy. So there was that incident with Roman Reigns and this mystery assailant who's been attacking Roman Reigns. And in the first attack, in the background, you see Buddy Murphy. So apparently, Buddy Murphy was not even supposed to be in that video package or in that shot. He just came out there accidentally. So WWE had no choice but to actually put it in storyline that he was somehow involved. And that led to a matchup with Roman Reigns and then a matchup with Daniel Bryan. And he's had 2 solid back-to-back matches, which has gotten over with the crowd and with the superstars themselves. With Reigns and Bryan. So that just continues to build him up. And like I said, track history of WWE is whenever there's a superstar where the crowd's behind, at least in today's WWE. Back then, they would, probably go with it. But, if it's not somebody the machine is behind, they're going to ruin it. And I have history to back me up on that. So I want them to prove me wrong. Buddy Murphy is showing it. Crowd's into it. And if you're over with the crowd, if they're chanting your name, you're doing something right. So we'll see what happens. But Ali gets the rub here, moves on to the quarterfinals. Next, we get a backstage segment with Bayley and Ember Moon. And Ember Moon staring at Bayley's championship, and Bayley looks like she's wanting to go at it again with Ember, but Ember's saying, hey, look, I'm still dealing with the loss to SummerSlam in my own way, whatever that means. But as you've seen on Twitter, if you follow her, which I do, I follow a lot of the superstars just to see what they're up to. She has like a Twitter diary, so I guess that's how she's dealing with it. She's posting tweets, dealing with whatever victories or losses that she endures in this journey to try to become a champion. So I think they're not at odds anymore. At least she doesn't want to be. And talking about Charlotte and Ember saying that Charlotte likes to say that she's the face of the division, but you're the champion. So as far as I'm concerned, you're the face of the division, and that prompts up Lacey Evans, who we haven't seen since July's Extreme Rules when she lost to Becky Lynch. We haven't seen her since then, but now here she is popping up randomly on SmackDown. It's like, aren't you a member of the Raw team? Again, things are getting so confusing. I don't know who's on what show. And she's got a matchup tonight with Bayley and talking about... so Lacey Evans in this backstage segment says, if you're the face of the division, we need to get the standards to be higher or whatever, and that Lacey's gonna just teach her a lesson, and Bayley and Ember Moon laugh at her, and that's the end of that segment. Next we have The Miz, who comes out to the ring, cuts a promo on Nakamura and Sami Zayn, and again, like I said from the Raw recap, whatever you think about The Miz, this guy, he may be getting lines directed at him from WWE, but the way this guy delivers it, and him being in movies and stuff, has really helped shape his character as far as like knowing how to cut a promo and making it believable. Crowd is behind The Miz. This brings out Sami Zayn, who goes back and forth with The Miz, and this is leading to a championship challenge from The Miz to Nakamura for the IC title. Looks like The Miz and Sami Zayn are going to get into it. Nakamura jumps Miz from behind. They get the beat down on Miz, and that sets up that feud, which I'm all for. This was an A+ segment for me. If you're not going to be using Sami Zayn wrestling-wise, if you're not going to put him over or try to get him anywhere, this is the best possible use for him. He's good on the mic, especially for Nakamura, who does have issues speaking and being coherent and understanding what he's actually talking about. Using him as a mouthpiece for this guy is actually pretty good. And I'm all for IC title feuds and stuff that's just on the mid-card. This is good for these guys, so hopefully they continue to build that up. Miz is a good promo. Sami Zayn is a good promo. I believe this match is going to happen at Clash of Champions. Shinsuke Nakamura and The Miz for the Intercontinental Championship. I'm sure the match will be okay. Nakamura can carry it, and The Miz is decent enough, like I said. Good segment here. I liked it a lot. We cut to backstage again. We got Elias in Shane McMahon's office. Kevin Owens shows up. I believe he's looking for Shane. For me, they've already ruined the Kevin Owens character because they're just making him such a wimp. And this coming off a couple of weeks beforehand where they were trying to make him like the next Steve Austin, trying to make him into a badass. But now he's this whining little baby crying about fines. And I don't know. To me, they've just ruined Kevin Owens. He's one of my favorite superstars, but I've just lost interest in him. They've completely devalued him in less than 2 weeks. This segment went nowhere. I believe it was just whatever to buffer a feud between these two as we lead to whatever's going to happen with Owens and Shane in the months to come. So that's the end of that. Up next, we have Bayley versus Lacey Evans. This match was rough to start off. Lacey Evans is still green. The character's really good. She can cut a promo, and her character's really well developed. She just needs to get a little bit better in-ring wise with a lot of like the basic moves and stuff. I know there was somewhere early in the match, Bayley tries to do a roll-up on Evans, and it completely falls apart. And you can tell it's not Bayley's fault. It's more Lacey Evans. But, you know, she's still green. But, again, that was the beginning of the match. And then the match kind of picks up momentum. Charlotte Flair shows up to ringside at one point, and it starts to get a little bit good. You know, it's a little bit of back and forth, but eventually Bayley gets the win. Has got to build up to her match with Charlotte at the Clash of Champions pay-per-view for the SmackDown Women's Championship. One quick note on this matchup, though, before it was starting, it was talking about how the announcers was going off about Lacey Evans trying to be the face of this division. And it's like, again, this is SmackDown. You're a Raw superstar. What the hell is going on? Like, either they're going to put some clarity to this issue once SmackDown makes the move to Fox in October, or are we still going to have split rosters? In my opinion, they just need to get rid of this whole brand split. They need to consolidate a lot of the belts and just have the wrestlers appear on both shows. Like, it's so easy. And I don't get a lot of the internet wrestling community who don't get that's like, it's such a hard concept to do. Like, why they think it would be so hard to have wrestlers on both brands. Like, they did it in the Attitude Era with Raw and SmackDown. You had the Raw show, and then once SmackDown debuted in 1999, they were able to bounce off both of those shows with the same wrestlers going on both shows and doing different matchups. Like, it is possible to do it. So I don't know why in 2019, why that's such a hard concept. Or they could be like, oh, well, not everyone's going to get an opportunity. Well, maybe not everyone needs an opportunity at the moment. You know, there's some people that need to work their way up. And also, it doesn't give us the fatigue of seeing the same people over and over. So you can rotate and give us different wrestlers on different shows. But do have, like, the crossover and only have, like, a couple of belts. There's just too many belts right now to really care about anything. It's like somebody becomes a tag team champion. It's like, so what? There's like 2 other sets of tag team champions if you're including the NXT brand. So I thought that was just funny. A funny thing of the commentators to say in this match about Lacey Evans wanting to be the face of the SmackDown division when she's a member of Raw. Next, we got a backstage segment with Daniel Bryan talking about how they want the apology from Roman Reigns because they unveiled who it was that was trying to attack Roman. It was somebody that looks like Rowan. But, yeah, they're looking forward to that apology, and that was a quick segment on that. Next, we have Randy Orton versus Big E, which was a match that stemmed for, obviously, the attack earlier on Kofi Kingston from Randy Orton. There was a segment earlier in the show. I forgot to put that in my notes. But there was a segment earlier backstage where Big E was coming out of the trainer's room, and there was the interviewer, Caleb Braxton, talking about how, hey, we just found out you're going to have a match with Randy Orton. What are your thoughts right now? How's Kofi? And Big E is like in a super serious mood, right? Like, I'm like, oh, this is this is fucking awesome. We're going to get a serious Big E here. This is going to be a good opportunity to showcase his singles status competitor and not just being part of the New Day. But what happens when this match starts? He does his New Day shtick, which is comedy. It's a big shout out to the crowd, and he comes out, and then he comes out all super serious, right? Drops his tag team belt. By the way, they're the SmackDown tag team champions. He drops his belt right away, right? He's coming to the ring to face Orton. He's super serious, right? But how can you take that serious when you're doing your little comedy shtick in your entrance song, in your entrance music? That's so dumb. And then he does another thing in the match. It's supposed to be super serious, right? Super Big E. He's trying to avenge Kofi Kingston, who got attacked. His best friend got attacked earlier in the show. And then we come to this part of the match where Big E wipes his tongue with his hand. And then he spanks Randy Orton, and he's smiling. And it's like, bro, you're trying to be serious here, and you're doing a comedy spot, and the crowd's laughing. How am I supposed to take you serious? And this is my biggest gripe with the New Day. It's like, yes, the comedy is good and whatnot, but when it's time to be serious, make us believe you're serious, and we can take you as a serious contender, a serious WWE champion, a serious tag team champion. But no, this is the big problem with the New Day, is that everything's a joke. So that came off really stupid, especially when Big E's saying how he's, gonna beat the hell out of Randy Orton, and he may not make it to Clash of Champions, and then you do shit like that. Forgot who won them. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Randy Orton wins the matchup because he's teaming up with the Revival. The Revival were just in a match on Monday Night Raw for the Raw Tag Team title opportunity. What the hell's going on there? Oh yeah, they're fighting the New Day also for the SmackDown Tag Team titles. It looks like it hasn't been made official, but that's what's going on there. They come out during the match, and while the referee's turn, they're able to take a shot in on Big E. Orton lands an RKO, picks up the victory. The Revival comes in, and then they throw Big E around, and they lift him up for a super RKO. Orton and the Revival stand tall. I like this group here. I hope they continue to push them. I'm all about factions and stables, and the more we can get of them, the more I'll enjoy it. So good segment here. Good finish to it, except for that stupid Big E, serious, not serious, in the entrance and in his match. But Orton and the Revival, I'm all for that. Next, we got a backstage segment with Chad Gable, who's gearing up for his King of the Ring match with Shelton Benjamin. Caleb Braxton, again, is talking about if he's ready for the opportunity and if he has any issues with Shelton Benjamin, talking about his height. And he says, not to underestimate him, and Shelton should know not to underestimate him. Shelton Benjamin shows up, starts making fun of his height again. I don't know what the point of this is. If this is the build-up to the match, whatever. We both know these guys are two really good athletes, so hopefully they'll give us a good match. Next, we got a segment with Elias. He's on the King of the Ring throne with the crown. I believe he tries to get a promo off, but right away Kevin Owens shows up. They brawl to the ring, hits him with the stunner, lays out Elias. Kevin Owens leaves. That's his segment for the night. And then R-Truth shows up out of nowhere because we all know Elias is the 24/7 champion. R-Truth has a ref with him, shows up, covers Elias. As he's about to get the 3 count, from behind on the outside of the ring is Drake Maverick, pulls R-Truth off, knocks him out. Drake Maverick seizes the opportunity, pins Elias, and is now the 24/7 champion. And maybe now he will be able to consummate his marriage, because that's all he was waiting on, was to win this championship, and he'll be able to do that with his wife. Runs around the ring for a little bit, stumbles. We're wondering, is he going to lose it to R-Truth again? But no, he escapes, and currently right now, Drake Maverick is the 24/7 champion, and I'll be checking in on social media, see if the title switches hands, because that's usually what happens. There's an event going on and shenanigans going on, and a title change usually always happens on the weekend. But we'll see if Drake Maverick makes it to Monday Night Raw next week. And next, we got our final King of the Ring match of the week, Chad Gable versus Shelton Benjamin. It starts off kind of boring, and there's not really that much left in the show, so right as it's getting good, it ends right away. So Chad Gable picks up the victory and moves on, and I he's going to be facing Andrade. So it's Andrade versus Chad Gable on SmackDown. And then you got Elias versus Ali on the SmackDown side of the quarterfinals. And then on the Raw side, you have Samoa Joe and Ricochet. And you have Cedric Alexander and Baron Corbin. So let me make my prediction right now on what's going to be the semifinals. Or this is the semifinals coming up. What's going to be the finals leading up to the pay-per-view. You got, I believe, Ricochet's going to beat Joe. And then you're going to have Baron Corbin beat Cedric Alexander. So you're going to have Ricochet and Ricochet and Corbin for the semifinals. It's the semifinals. This is the quarterfinals coming up. Semifinals for that. And then on SmackDown, I believe you're going to have Andrade beat Chad Gable. And then you're going to have Ali beat Elias. And then Andrade Ali will be the semifinal match for SmackDown. So we'll leave it at that. And the King of the Ring will continue. The finals of that tournament will be on the Clash of Champions pay-per-view. And then we get to the main event of, it's not a match, it's Roman Reigns coming out. And is he going to apologize to Daniel Bryan? And before, Daniel Bryan can make it to the ring, he shows up on the Tron saying he wants the apology from Roman. And Roman's like, well, you know what? I got one more piece of video footage to show you, and then I'll decide if I'm going to apologize or not. So they go back to the first attack where all the equipment and all this stuff falls on Roman Reigns, and they show it from a different angle, and you see Eric Rowan in the shot. They cut immediately to Daniel Bryan and Rowan backstage reacting, and Daniel Bryan's like, how could you do this? You're a liar. I hate liars. He starts beating the shit out of Rowan. Tells him to get the hell out of the way. Bryan goes into this rage, talking about how he hates liars, and he's headed towards the ring, wants the mic, storming to the ring, telling Roman, hey, I hate liars, he betrayed me, I hate liars, continues to just get mad. And finally, Roman just spears Daniel Bryan and leaves the ring, and that's how the show ends. What happens now is, I guess this is just going to lead to a matchup between Roman and Daniel Bryan at the Clash of Champions pay-per-view. At least that's the story they're telling us. That's what it looks like it's leading to. But we'll see. This is WWE, and anything can happen. So that's SmackDown for this week. I got to say, I probably enjoyed it more than Raw. They had better matchups and more interesting segments, or funny segments, to say the least. We're on the road to Clash of Champions, and I think this is going to wrap it up for this episode. Thank you for joining me. This has been quite a bit of a listen, so thank you if you stayed all the way. I'll be coming back at you soon. I'm running a poll right now on my Facebook page asking which old wrestling show you would like me to cover. It's between SmackDown and NXT. And right now I'm binge watching a lot of the WWE old stuff. So like I said, I'm on the year 1999. I'm in the month of April. And I'm coming up to the first ever SmackDown. So if SmackDown ends up winning the poll, I'm going to spin off this show already and do a rewatch of all the SmackDown episodes. And there's over 1,000 of them, folks. So that'll be a cool little project. And I want to do that because I want to pump out content. There's just so much good stuff to cover and review and reminisce about. And hopefully you continue to join me on this journey. I really appreciate it. And whenever I post this, hopefully you can share this. I want to get the word out as much as possible, as many listeners as possible, and just try to grow this thing and see where it can go. But that's going to do it for this episode. We got about a little less than 2 weeks until the NFL season. So probably next week you'll see me pumping out an episode of my NFL predictions and week 1 and what's going to happen. And the road to Super Bowl 54 is coming, folks. And like I said, there's a lot of wrestling stuff coming up in the months leading up to the AEW premiere on TNT and the SmackDown getting moved to Fox, which is a big deal. Just a lot of good stuff. And you'll be hearing from me soon. Thank you for joining me. Have a good night.